Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace and blessings be upon you all. Today we're continuing, and we have finished last lesson with the halal and the haram food. And now, today we'll be starting with dua, which is supplication, and with prayer. I know that in other religions, prayer means that you supplicate, but in Islam, um, supplication and prayer is different. So, prayer itself, which means to kneel and to prostrate, um, that's actually existed since the Prophet Abraham. So, way before, our Master Jesus, it was it was there since our Master Abraham. Um, so that's the prayer. And there is dua. Dua means supplication. Prayer means the physical thing you do by kneeling and so on. So what is dua? What is supplication? Supplication is something very um, transcendent because it actually reflects the relationship between two people, for example. When you supplicate to someone means you're asking from someone, you're talking to someone, you're telling someone about your suffering, you're having conversation, you're asking him, her. So it means you're acknowledging their existence, you can rely on them, you feel comfortable with them, and you actually confirm their existence. So that's what dua is. That's what supplication is. Now, prayer, on the other hand, are um, the worship that actually combines kind of everything. It combines dua, combines supplication, it combines reading the Quran, it combines mentioning Allah, and it has physical movement in it. So I'm going to talk about both of those as far as the time allows me. Dua or supplication itself, that was mentioned in the hadith of our Master Muhammad, alayhi salam, that it is, he said, nothing is more honorable to Allah than supplication. Because as I said, you are talking to Allah, you are asking from Allah, which means you're acknowledging Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're relying on Him. But supplicating to Allah doesn't mean that Allah needs to do everything you're asking Him to do. It's exactly like how kids normally want to ask their parents, please do this to me, please do this for me, please change this to me. I mean, parents want to protect their kids. So they would say, I hear you, I love you, I'm with you, but I may not do this for you. So the same exact thing. People know about Allah, people know about God, know about the Creator, that He is the all powerful, the all able, the very generous, but they miss on one attribute, which is that Allah, the Creator, is also the all wise. His wisdom and his knowledge knows what's good and what's bad. So when we supplicate and when we ask from Allah, we're asking Allah what we think that will make us happy and will make our beloveds happy. But Allah does for them and for us what truly make us happy in this life and in the hereafter. Because we sometimes only account for this life. We only see this life and forget that this is only the doorstep of the next life. Like this life we're living right now, which is before death, is only the doorstep of the next life. So if you imagine our life is both this life when we were in our mother's wombs and the hereafter, this life is only um, the doorsteps, and then we start entering to that mansion. So it's here is nothing compared to there, but we sometimes and mostly forget that. Okay, if I'm asking God, God is not answering here. I love someone and that one died, and I ask God to keep him alive, and that person is dead. Okay, that means God doesn't exist, or God is the all merciful, but he's not the all able, or he's the all able, but he's not merciful. Well, no, God is the one created you. God is the one who is all able. God is merciful because the mercy you see in yourself is because of him putting it in you, and he's the one created you, but you're forgetting that two things. One, God is wise. And if you fear for your kids and for your beloveds things that they do not know, then God for sure fears for you things you don't know. And the second thing is that it's not only this life. We're always looking at the doorsteps, never looking inside, never even wanting to go there, never even of dreaming there. We're always attached to the doorsteps. So, dua, supplication, as our Master Muhammad said, that is, nothing is more honorable to Allah than supplication. It's a relationship between you and God. At the same time, we should not constrain God to what we know. Instead, we should trust what God knows. Okay. Another thing is that God said in the Quran that وقال ربكم ادعوني أستجب لكم إن الذين يستكبرون عن عبادتي سيدخلون جهنم داخرين. And God told you, supplicate to me or ask me, and I will respond to you. For those who are feeling ego than to worship me, they will enter to hell, and they are little. Here Allah says that ask me and I will respond to you. But some people understand responding means that he will does exactly what I'm telling him. It is not like that. Responding means exactly how we do with our kids, for example, or with our friends. When they call me, I answer. When they're talking to me, I will answer them. I will not ignore them. I am there for them, but I'm not obligated to do what will harm them. And that's exactly what responding. Otherwise, I'm not responding to them. I'm just wanting them to shut up, to be quiet, and to just stop asking me. That's why I'm giving them, I'm doing for them everything they want. That's it. But here, no. With God, it's different. It is about taking care of you because He is your Lord. And that's where we fall short. Our what we anticipate from God is that He will or He should do everything we're telling Him, and that actually um, is the opposite of who is God and who is the servant. We are the servants. I mean, even if we look at it this way, we are the servants that we should do what God is telling us to do, and He is the God the one should be commanding. Now we are reversing this, we are flipping it, and we're making God as the servant, and we are becoming the gods. No, it's not like that. When God told us, ask me, I will respond to you, that's because He's kind, because He's merciful. But let us not forget who is the servant and who is the God. Again, in another chapter, um, Allah said, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ. فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي وَلْيُؤْمِنُوا بِي لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْشُدُونَ. And if my servants ask you about me, I'm close. I respond to their prayers or to their supplications if they supplicate to me. So let them respond to me, let them believe in me. Maybe they will be guided. Again, I will respond to them. Doesn't mean that I will do exactly what they're telling me because I know with my wisdom as a God what they do not know. I am the one who created them. I am the one who created everything they love. I did that for them. So let them take evidence of that and of every moment they have lived happily in their life that I love them. So let them trust me. So that's what supplication is. I mean, we can go into that subjects, and probably there are books and books and books that were written regarding this subject. But this first stage, I don't want to go in depth in things. So let's move on to the second part of it. So first we talked about dua, supplication. Now let's talk about prayer. What is prayer? So prayer itself is a worship. It's the second pillar of the pillars of Islam, and it's a mandatory thing. It is not something that is optional, and therefore, um, some people may get mad, like, "Oh, we need to do this and do that." Yes, this is to express your obedience because God sets things in the universe as an obligation that you cannot override, you cannot just overlook. Like, for example, gravity. What is that? Eating. What is that? Those are obligations, but not as guidance. Those are as rules. So you do them. You have to do them. You have to be. You have to obey the gravity because it's a universal rule. But religion is here to show who actually will respond. So he said, those things are obligations, means I want you to do them. I want you to pray. I want you to eat halal. I want you to not harm people. I want you to take care of yourself. I want you to be happy. I want you to take care of your kids. I want you to take care of your elders, and so on and so forth. And as the scholar says, when God ordered you to take care of your elders, God also, at the same exact time, ordered your kids to take care of you when you're old. When God told you not to steal 8 billion people, God also told those 8 billion people not to steal you. So it's for the good of human beings. It's good for the mankind. It's good for this life. And this life is the farm of the hereafter. Whatever you do here, every breath, everything you do here is reflected on the hereafter. Okay, so what are the 5 daily prayers? Those are obligations, and those are the only obligations that you need to do during the day regarding prayers. Some people may tell you, okay, let's do more prayers. Well, that's optional. That's optional. You can do it. You don't have to do it. It's up to you. Nothing obligatory. Those 5 daily prayers are obligations, and we will talk about them later, inshallah, when we in depth. I don't know if we cannot talk about it here in depth, but I will. But let's start with what it is. So those 5 daily prayers, um, those are five. They have their designated times during the day. You do not have to do them exactly when the prayer calls. You have it until the next prayer. They're normally not something hard at all. Um, the longest prayer takes probably 4 minutes. That's it. Um, those prayers, as I said, they were since the time of our father, of the father of the prophets, Abraham, and it was, I think, two in the morning and two at night. That's it. But then when our Master Muhammad were taken above the seven heavens and he met all the prophets, Allah or God Almighty told him that I will give you to your nation five prayers. I will make them now five. So it's this worship, which is the five daily prayers, it's the only worship that were told to the prophet um, outside of the universe. Means it's still in the universe because he's a creature, so cannot go outside of the universe. But all the other obligations or all the other sharia were brought to him by Gabriel. But prayer is the only one, is the only worship that was told directly by God to the Prophet Muhammad alayhi when he was in the Isra and the Mi'raj, when he went outside, near to the outside of the universe. So it's like it's a very special worship, very, very special worship. Um, and it's, as I said, obligatory. If a person abandon prayer actively, means not doing it, or in their heart, and when I say abandon it, I'm not saying by laziness, I'm saying by denying it, then that person will get out of Islam. But some people may do it as a sin. They confirm that, yes, it's an obligation. I'm just too lazy. I'm not doing it, but I confirm that is an obligation. That person is a sinner, not a a disbeliever. Because the prayer is something from the Islam. Allah told us to do it. So if we tell no, God didn't tell us to do it, then we are telling that God is, lying, and that's immediately, a kick out. So denying the prayer, even if a person is doing it, but he in his or her heart they're just saying, "Oh, it's not from the Islam, but I'm just doing it because people look bad at me." That person is not a Muslim anymore. They need to go back, take Shahada again. Because prayer as an obligation, it's from God. It's not even from the Master Muhammad. I mean, some people confuse these things, telling, oh, the Shaykh is telling us this. Oh, the Prophet is telling us this. No prophet have said any words, not Adam, not Noah, not Abraham, not Moses, not Jesus, not Muhammad. None of them said anything from themselves. It all was a revelation, a guidance from God. They do not speak from themselves. So when we deny what they said, we're denying what God said, what God ordered. So people may not pray because they are lazy, and that's a big, big sin, one of the big sins. But as long as they're not denying it as an obligation, then they're fine. Um, what again? So some extremist people, and unfortunately we are living with a lot of them in these days, they say that if you don't pray, because and why they say this, it's because they do not understand the text. They do not understand the context. They do not understand the revelation. They take one information or two information or multi magnitude information, but they do not know how to bind them together. They do not know the meaning of those information, of this knowledge. Some of the extremist people at these days and in the previous eras say that if you do not pray, even for laziness, even if you are not denying it, then you are a disbeliever. That's wrong. That's totally wrong. It's only when you deny what Allah has ordered you to do, then that's a disbelief, because it is. If you believe in it, if you do not deny it, but you're just lazy, that's a sin. And that's the difference between a sin and disbelief. So a person who doesn't deny it but is not doing it, that's a big sin. Okay. Um, okay. So let's talk about, I don't know, when did we start? Are we hitting the mark or do we still have like another 5, 10 minutes? We probably still have another 10 minutes. Okay. Nobody's answering. Okay. Let's talk about impurities. And I call them impurities. I don't want to call them, non-cleanliness, because it's not about cleaning. It's about the things that are not clean, but at the same time, it's not something that is pure. For example, dirt is dirt. You're getting dirty, but it's in itself. You can have dirty clothes and you can pray. But for example, for poop, it's it's not clean, and at the same time it's not pure. So you cannot pray with it. So that's what I'm going to be talking about now, which is impurities. Impurities, and we can combine all the impurities to be that it is what is liquid, means not on a solid state. Um, and those things are the things that come from a person's, when they go to the bathroom, from both ways, like pee and poop, um, except for semen. And from animals, during their life, like when they're alive, also their pee and poop are not pure. Um, Also, all the animals are pure, except for the dog and the pig. And regarding the dog, in the Maliki jurisprudence, it's also pure. So for people who does have a dog, do not worry. It is still pure in Islam. So all animals except for the pig. Okay. Um, what else? The dead bodies, except for human bodies, I mean for human dead things, and animals except for fish and, oh, I think it's called grasshopper. Hold on. Yeah, grasshopper. So fish and grasshopper, if they're dead, they're not impure. All the other animals, when they're dead, they're pure. When they're dead, they're okay. Hold on. Okay, let's go back. All animals are impure when they're dead, except for fish and grasshopper, and also human. When human is dead, they're not impure. They're still pure. Um, and also, for example, if you slaughter the animal, the animals that you can eat, they're also still pure. So all animals except for fish and grasshopper are impure, and the animals that can be eaten by humans while they are slaughtered, not if they are killed. The human being, if when the human being is dead, so if you touch a human being, and it's wet, it's still pure. You do not need to wash your hand. If you touch a dead animal, not a slaughtered animal, and the animal was wet, then you do need to wash your hands. It's exactly like when you touch pee. Um, Alcohol, the one that's being drinked, not the one that you purify the wound with. The drinking alcohol is impure. Um, what else? If your dog or a pig, if you're raising a pig for some reason, why, I don't know why, um, licks or eats from a dish, even though that we're telling you that dog is not impure, but there are things in the saliva of the dog that if the dog licks or eats from a plate, that you need to wash it 7 times and one of them with dirt. You're gonna tell me why? I don't know. But I'm gonna tell you that there is another hadith of the Prophet Muhammad tells that if a fly falls into your, let's say you're drinking milk or water or whatever, and a flies fall into your drink, then do not just take it away and throw it away. Push it down and then pick it up and then throw it away. Why? Because in one of its wings there is disease and the other there is a cure. Who taught him this? And then now, after research, they figure out or find out that that's true before, 1400 years. It's God. The same thing here. Why do we do these things? Because the Prophet knows things we still don't know, or maybe we know. I don't know if the research actually find out. But if a pig or a dog eats from a dish, then you wash it 7 times and one of them with dirt. Um, Also, blood. When the blood is out of the body, you need to wash it because when it gets out, it's now impure. I mean, I'm not giving it enough time to explain things. I just want you in this stage just to know things. And in upcoming stages, inshallah, like we have a dedicated one, which is the practical dimension of Islam. I want to go there and explain in depth the things we have said here. But yeah. Um, so I think that's it for today. Tomorrow we will start talking about the conditions of the prayer, which are entering of time, the direction of the Qibla, place cleanliness, body cleanliness, wudu, the ghusl or the purification of the body, and covering of the body. And then we'll start entering to the pillars of the prayer. And then afterwards, probably we'll have just one or two, and then we'll start entering to a very exciting, very nice stage, which is building the Islamic mindset. And this one is very important. And then afterwards, we will get into the intellectual dimension of Islam, and there you will start knowing the evidence of the belief of Islam. And if you get into that third section, the intellectual dimension of Islam, no atheist, no Christian, no disbeliever, no extremists will be able to stand in front of you because now you will know all the evidence, and all the evidence, I mean, thank God of this, Allah made it to be purely um, logical. So if you love logic, if you find that we need to respect the human mind, this section is all based on logic, and I will teach you the logical thinking from the start, from zero, until if you go even to, college professors, if you go to churches, they will find you, okay, that person knows what he's talking about. Let's learn from him even. And then afterwards, we will start getting into the spiritual dimension of Islam. And that's where we start talking about Sufism, when we start talking about Tasawwuf and the mystic dimension of Islam. And then we will start, after that, the fifth stage, we will go into the moral dimension of Islam. We'll start learning about the morals of Islam. We'll start learning about our Prophet Muhammad. We will learn a lot of things here also. And then we will go and get into the practical dimension of Islam. And that's where I am going to explain to you um, in depth about the jurisprudence of Islam and how to do things. Therefore, I just want you in this stage, the first stage, to have a glance of what you should do, learn it, even if it was a surface level, it's okay, as long as you know how to do it. And then we will talk about it there, inshallah, however God will allow us. Um, the seventh stage is end time and death and afterlife. And there we will talk about what happens to us when we die during death, what happens afterwards, and then what happens in the hereafter, and so on and so forth, which is very important. And then in the eighth section or stage, we'll talk about the Islamic culture, we'll talk about queries, existential things, and we will talk also about existential things in the intellectual dimension of Islam and about more things. Okay. Do you have any questions or are we good for today? If you want to understand what I said about the impurities, please go back to it again and write it on paper. If you do so, please send it to me because I want to have a copy of it, however you arrange it. And let's move on from there, inshallah. See you next week. Assalamu alaikum.